Hello everyone, this is Libby, otherwise known as Silverlief, and today we're going to be making some masterboards. I have two plans for this. One is going to be stamped on a existing background. This one I'm doing sort of to go in my mum's journal, and I already pre-stamped on the darkest area to see how my inks will come out, and I don't have the focus on, so 1 second. Sorry about that. Might focus a little better now. So obviously my main three, I have a blue, a black, and a dark brown. I can use those. I think they'll show up nicely. This is my green. I think it actually looks pretty nice on here. My purple, I think, is a bit too washed out. Sand dune, definitely not. And I really like the pop of red. And it'll look different depending on where I'm stamping on here. This is like a sacrificial area, but I can use them. They'll make cute little labels. But I'm going to be trying to make some journaling cards and tags. The other method that I'm going to be using is how I usually do my masterboards. I'm not as comfortable stamping, at least big areas. Let's see. Back to bringing these guys out. So this is one, it needs some glue, but I'll do that in a minute. This is one that I stamped a while back. You can see I was using black and red, but this was on a white paper, and I made a mistake of not really building up the background. There's some like smaller bits that I stamped in a lighter colour, but I think stamping on here is a good start for me. I think if I was to do this one again, this is a sticker. If I was to do this one again, I'd maybe stencil in the background or something first. So that's how we're going to be doing this guy, is stamping, and then once we cut it down we can decorate. And then my other ones are like this. So it's going to have lots of, well, this one's not a good example because I kind of was a bit willy-nilly with this one. But basically scraps of paper in the background built up, and then we had our focal points on. Then the back of this is just plain white. So I'm either going to cover it in like an off-white paper, or I might stencil, or just brush some ink on. So we're going to be using this for the stamp, and then for the others, I'm either going to use this, but it's a bit thick, or I'm always losing things, aren't I? Or I have some other packaging that some of my stuff came in. So I just got some Easter egg die kits because it's, you know, the end of Easter now. So my other plan is to use the packaging. This again will be doing it on both sides. I think I would be sticking my images maybe on this side, and then either keeping the cardboard on the back or stenciling something on that. I'm not going to use this one though, because this has punch outs, and I want to use these punch outs, but you know, I could use this half basically is what I'm saying. So yeah, this one's going to be low effort in terms of, not effort, but in terms of what I need. So it's just a piece of scrapbook paper and then a piece of packaging. Inks, I have some different stamps. I think I'm going to lean heavily into this Dreamcatcher and these astrology and nighttime ones that I have. And then I have my big box, well, not that big. I have my box of baby scraps, and I'm going to be looking for more of the lighter weight paper My other ones are with various weights of paper that I've done. And I like it, it adds some nice texture. But when you're putting scrapbook paper on scrapbook paper on scrapbook paper, it gets pretty thick pretty fast. Not that I have a problem with that. So I think we're going to start with the one I'm dreading the most, which is the stamps. I have a couple of different stamping blocks. That's the frame. That's the stamp. I have one here with a splatter stamp on it. And then one here with a mushroom that I was using the other day. So I'll take that mushroom off. Yeah, so I think I want some, because this background's pretty much already there, I'm going to do the stamping. I wish I had some bigger stamps, but I think this is the one that I'm going to pull from the most. It's very much my mum, and this whole masterboard will be going into her book, so I'll use this guy. And I might try and do like a repeating pattern, so like stamping across and then in between like this, and then filling the gaps. There's also some feathers on here that I might use, but I definitely like, yeah, I think this one. What colour do I want to do the dream catcher in? So I do like the red, but I'm not sure if I want that to be the main focal. This will probably end up being like some of the smaller bits. Maybe the blue or the black. If I do the black, that's more neutral in the background. Or I could do the brown. I forget which one's the brown. I think this one's actually the brown. If you can see me pointing. Let's lift that up a little bit. So we're just gonna... Nice and sticky, these ones. Surprising because they're from the dollar store, the stamps, not the ink. Okay, and then I'm just going to start in one of the corners. And this will end up being cut up into little pieces, so I'm not too worried if things are too close to one another. I didn't get a very clean impression with that, so I'm going to try a little better with the next one. I might have a bit too much ink on there too. Oh no, I think the problem is some parts of this are lower than the rest. See if I can ink up those spots anyway, so it's not catching the ink, which is the price you pay when you get these cheaper stamps, I guess. Okay, so we have one there. I'm just going to layer this one sort of here. That's better. And then I'm going to do another one, like probably about here. We're basically making our own patterned paper that we're then going to turn into, I think maybe, I wonder if it's supposed to be, I don't know if you can see, but there's patches where the ink just is not getting. I wonder if it's supposed to be like that, if it's intentional, or if they'd at least say it was intentional. Oh, don't drop it. So then roughly about there. Yeah, so I'm going to go in with the, what am I using? Oh no, I'm not using the black, the brown. It looks black on this. And I'm going to do the same pattern here. You know, try and make it like checkerboard almost. And then we'll choose another stamp for some of the other areas. I wish I had gone with a different stamp now, because this one just won't keep the ink. Okay, so we're doing that, then we want this guy roughly here. And again, it doesn't really matter because none of these pieces are going to be super huge. The journal is only in A5 size. that this one's going in at least. Get that ink off. Okay, so I want another one roughly about here. And I will cut these up and decorate them. Yeah. Okay. It's growing on me a little bit more. This one bothers me the most because it has a lot of spots missing. But again, I think actually looking at the outline on this, I think it is supposed to be like that. Because there's areas that are missing on the rope on the outside. Okay, so we're going to go up here. I might leave that at just those two in the middle and then copy this down at the bottom, and that gives us space to fill in with other things. Otherwise it would all be the same, which is fine. I have a lot of scrapbook paper that is patterned like that, but it's not what I'm going for here. So I'm going to try and line it up with both of these things again. Sorry if you can hear something rattling on my desk. Okay. Like that. And then one more over here, and then we'll switch out stamps. Oh, I got that all over my thumb. Okay, and about there. I'm gonna have to figure out the settings I want for my ring light, because this camera, for whatever reason, the color correct is completely different on it to my phone. It's sort of washing everything out, and I have messed with the overhead, but see if we can. 1 second. Is there a color that's better? Oh, that's really white. No, I do think that's the better one. That might be better. Okay. So this is what we have so far. Okay. So I'm going to do something smaller in the middle of these. And I have a set. Oh, where's the biggest set though? These ones have like the Virgo and things on. I thought I had a bigger one. And I did. It had the head on. Where did I put that? I would lose my head if it wasn't on my shoulders. It's not in there. Let's see. Over here. I moved some of the items around that I had been collecting for this. Bugs. Gotcha. Here we go. Again, because this is specifically for a journal. Now, is that going to be weird? She's a bit big. This is my Virgo. She's gorgeous is what she is. If you can see that. She's like a little angel. No, that'll be fine, but I'm going to do her in blue. If I'd have thought about it more, I'd have done her in brown. Because that's actually the colour for Virgo, is brown, but I already did these and I want some contrast. So we're going to do this blue, which I do think contrasts very nicely with the background. It's a bit of a brighter blue. I'm going to test this, and if it doesn't stamp well because of the block I've chosen, because it's going off a little bit, then I'll switch it out. But I love this stamp set. I used it on the cover of my personal journal that I was working on, but mine's Gemini, so okay. Here goes nothing. Hopefully this works. I have used this stamp before on my friends. Oh, that is gorgeous. Now my only issue is I'm going to end up covering her up when I do the final pieces, so I'm just going to do a couple. I might even just do like this diagonal and then leave the rest for something else, because she is already a focal point. I don't mind covering up these dream catchers, but she is gorgeous, and I will feel bad covering her up, so I already know myself. I'll have a hard time. So I think a lot of the other backgrounds I'm going to be using smaller. I have like star ones and stuff, ones that I won't mind covering. Less focally. It's the problem with this sort of thing. I always want to use my focal stamps because they're gorgeous, but then when you're building up on top of it, I feel bad covering them up. Oh my gosh, the detail in this stamp set. This one was not from the Dollar Tree. This one was. You can tell the difference. 1, 2. Okay, so you get to go up here. Hopefully, what I'm hoping is that I won't cut through, because I'm gonna do a blind cut. Won't cut through her too badly. Oh my gosh. Yep. Might be my favourite stamp. I had a piece of paper for tapping off. I just put all my other stamps on it. Okay. It's nice, it doesn't hold too much of the ink at the end too. I like that. Alright, she can go away. Very pretty. And then I'm either going to add some feathers, which would work because there's a lot of feathers on here, or some of these more zodiac-y. I like this guy. It's a moon, and I like this one's like a moon in a sun. You can tell I haven't used that one before. So we'll try these guys out. Where did I just put my little stamp block here? Going to use the blue for this one, and I think I'll go back to a black or a brown for this one. Or I might even pull out the red, but I'm kind of scared of pulling out the red. I'm not going to lie. So we're going to, how do I want to do this? I could do these two opposites and then these two opposites. I feel like I should have done a little bit of something extra in the background. That's okay. We can add on top. That's a bit harder to see, but that's fine. That's why it's a background stamp. I should have done these ones first. You know what, I will stick with the blue, that way it's broken up between the two colours. Next time I film, well, I have another video I'm going to do today. I don't know if it'll be up today, but I'm going to do it today. I should have my old mic back, which is a high quality one. I tend to unintentionally mumble, and the other one picks up my voice much better, so. Alright. One here. Oh, I like that. That feels neater than this one. This one, it blurred a bit more with the lines. And then, do I want to do it upside down? Yeah, I do. Not that it matters, because you're not going to see this all together. But for my enjoyment right now, I like that they're opposites. Okay, and then I'm going to just fill in some of these extra spots with just little stars, little moons, that sort of thing. Which requires a much smaller stamp. I don't know if that one's going to stick. Nope, it's not. I think because of where it was on this acetate, because this boy is much better. Let's see how this black looks in comparison. It's nice. Alright, so then these I'm just going to randomly litter. Randomly, she says, and then she's immediately putting them in the same spots. Just going to litter them throughout. Fill up some of this space. That way, if I end up with a tag or whatever and it's got more of this middle bit, there's at least something there. Getting ink everywhere. Yeah, this ended up not so random. That's okay. What's actually going to set these apart is less what's here in the background and more what I build up on top of it when we start adding the little pieces. So. I wonder if I should add a couple of the little moons too. What else do I have that's already out? I have this moon, this little guy, I quite like that. So we'll do the little guy. And then I might see about pulling out one of my numbers, my number stamps. We'll see. I don't know if it'll work as well with this. Yeah, we'll keep with the black. We already pulled the black back in, so. I need to stop getting this edge. Oh, I like the moons. These really are more random than the stars were. I think because the stars I had such obvious spots that needed filling. Whereas this is just more whatever I want. Yeah, I think these little guys have really added to the paper. I think because they've got such a strong contrast to the lighter browns and blues. And it really is filling in that spot nicely. Yeah. I might be overdoing it, but I don't care. I found a stamp. I really like this stamp. I know it's small and not much, but it looks good on here. Okay. So that's what we have so far. These ones are very light compared to the rest, but it's because the line work is so thin. Okay. And I think one contrasting colour, and I'm not sure if I want the green or if I want the red, but that's what I'm going to do for the numbers. I'm not sure which one's going to look better. And I'm just going to use, or I could do words and I could use the Virgo. Where are you, Virgo? Oh, and I've got the Virgo symbol on here too. Okay, where are you? Virgo. Just 1 second, I need to check something. Yeah, it is that one. Okay. Making sure that I remember which one it actually is symbol-wise. And it is the N. I'm never going to remember where all these little guys are supposed to go. Okay. I think I'm either going to use the red, or else I'm going to just stick with the blue. Something is telling me to put a little bit of an extra colour in here. But am I going to regret that? No, I'm going to go green. I think green's safer. I already have some green in the journal. We'll go green. I'm going to stamp this first though, because I don't want to... I need to make sure that I know how it stamps. If I stamp too hard, is it going to blow out? Yep. Okay, nice and light, Libby. Nice and light. That might be too light. Can you even read that? Nope. Okay, so we're not going with the green. Sorry, Mr. Green. You're not working for me. And I have a feeling that my blue is going to struggle too, like these. I mean, I can see it in person. Let's see. See if we can draw a little bit more of this blue in. It is a nice stamp. But let's get all that green off. Okay. Let's try that again. Yeah, the blue's better. And it ties a little bit more of that colour in to these emptier spots. I'm going to use the symbol too, so I'm not going to go overboard with the words. I'm going to try and overlay this, and if it goes bad, that's alright. I was going to say, if it goes bad, we'll just, when we come to decorate, we'll put over the top. Okay. One more Virgo up here. Okay, and then the last thing is going to be the symbol, which is the one that looks like an M. Yep, you. The other Virgo stickers, stamps I have used before. I've not used this one, so hopefully it works well. Yep. Oh, that's gorgeous. That one actually prints better than the word. Prints stamps. This is why I like doing them for specific people, because I can find out information. Well, I mean, I already knew this information, it's my mum. But you can find out information and really personalise it. I like using astrology signs in my charms and things. Okay. So, just gonna stamp that off. I'm gonna have to put those stamps back. But for now, this is how the background is gonna be. It reminds me of some of the papers that I have in one of my astrology scrapbook papers. Personally, I don't believe in astrology, but I like the aesthetic of it, if that makes sense. Okay. So then we'll cut this down, but we're going to do the other one first. And then these, I'm just gonna, this part I'm not gonna blind cut. I'll cut it off on purpose. And then we'll blind cut this. So that can go to one side, and then what? We're using the mermaid tail box, yeah. So I'm going to cut this down. Found my big scissors. They were hanging on my ring light. And I, for whatever reason, just completely didn't notice them. Until I accidentally knocked off something from my shelf above it. Come on. Has scissors, doesn't use them. Sounds about right. Alright. And I'm going to cut off all these extra pieces and just use this cardboard, this central bit. If I had my knife, I'd use that. I do not know where my knife went. I've always kept it in the same spot. I don't know if maybe I brought it with me to the event and now it's just mixed in somewhere with whatever bits I didn't finish unpacking. That can go to one side. I plan on using the tablets, the die tablets from this kit. I have a couple of them to die some paper. I think what I'm going to do is use a continual spray bottle. That way I don't have to let it dry too long. Each individual page can be just sprayed down. But I'll do that in another video. Or I'll do it off camera first, which is usually the better way to do it. Try it off camera and see if you like what you're doing. Okay. This is really shiny. I'm going to just quickly give it a buff with sandpaper. I made the mistake of not doing that when I was doing some cards. I took some old Uno cards and was decorating them. And certain papers would not stick to the surface. So. Okay. Let me just clean that off. There we go. It's still shiny, but it has a bit more, look at the state of my hands already. It'll have a bit more grip. Okay. So, I think I may actually keep this as is and just quickly stencil on the edges. This one's not specifically going to be for Mum's journal. In which case, I think I'm going to use my honeycomb again, because that is my favourite. Sorry if you can hear, just the packaging. So we'll use you. A sheet of paper underneath. I just cleaned my desk, so well, whatever this is, the mat. Sometimes the words don't come to me, so if there's ever a gap, I have pretty bad brain fog from fibromyalgia. It can be difficult for me to get the right words out at times. So if I ever just stop talking for a minute, that's usually what it is. It's just me trying to catch up without stuttering on through it. If I start stuttering through it, I'm going to end up a bit overwhelmed and embarrassed. So that's just my forewarning on that. Okay. So I'm using wild honey, because if this is not for Mum's journal, then it's likely going to end up in one of mine. And I love orange, one of my favourite colours. Well, probably is my favourite colour, to be fair. So we're gonna, and I'm just gonna do the corners. It's more yellow on this, but that's fine. Just gonna do the corners. This is also going to get cut up, so I guess it doesn't actually matter if I just do the corners or not, because the whole thing is, I could still write on top of that. You know what, I'm just going to quickly do sections of this just all over. This is just so that there's a little bit of something on the background, and when we come to decorate these, you can't even see that, can you? It is on there, I promise. It's so much clearer in person. When we come to decorate and I do the flip side, we'll ink it up too. So just a little bit of something. I don't want there to be a card with nothing on the back. But I also don't want it completely full, so I'm leaving little gaps in between. See that, which you can't. There you go. If I tilt it sideways, you can kind of see it. Okay, and then I say once we cut it down, we'll link the edges. So I'm just gonna set that aside. Should probably clean off my brush. Oh, it shows up nicely on here. All right. Yep. And you can still write on this. It'll be nice. So, sorry, dust from scratching that. I should keep a mask on hand. Now I'm going to pull out my little guys. This one should go actually faster than the stamps, theoretically, because we're just gluing pieces on. Do I have a new glue stick? Are you a new one? You're new enough. Okay. And I'm going to keep this on hand so that I'm not messing up my table again. So this is my box of random bits, mostly offcuts from other pieces. And again, as I said earlier, I'm going to try and go for my thinner pieces, not my scrapbook. I do have scrapbook paper in here, but it ends up with a very uneven surface on the top, and then things start pulling up, and I'm not about that right now. I also, though, want to make sure that the pink from underneath isn't coming through, which it kind of is with this one. I wonder if I should put a bit of white in the background first. Let's see. I don't think the watercolour is going to work. Some gouache. Is Libby gonna pull out the big guns for this one? Bit of mixed media, not my usual forte at all. Let's see. Just a little bit of white to try and tone down all those colours. This is why usually I stick paper on both sides, because then I could just stick plain paper on this and it would be easier. But that's fine. I'm literally just going to... Oh, lovely. Maybe I shouldn't do it on straight on the parchment. On the parchment, on the paper. You can see that the gel's separated. This is old paint. So just clear that out and try again. I'm just going to do it onto this piece of parchment then. Come on. There we go. Sorry, this was not the planned part, but I really need to tone down some of this pink. And I'm not looking for full coverage, so I'm just going to try and brush as much of this that I have on this side over here. I want it to dry fast, but if it's taken a while, I will pause the video. just dulling it out, and then it should make it so that it's not peeking through as much. Just a little bit extra. Today should have been a wear gloves day, because my hands are filthy. Oops, well, sorry Matt. I know I just cleaned you, but you're dirty now. At least it's just white paint. Cool. Alright, that shouldn't take too long to dry, it's not thick. Cover up that. That's going to need cleaning. I need to remember to do that. And realistically, I feel like I can still stick things on this even though it's wet. Yeah. So let's try again with that same piece. So I'm going to be putting it in that corner, and it shouldn't peek through as much. Fingers crossed. The problem now is moving it around. You're going to end up with mucky fingers. Well, I already have mucky fingers, so what's the difference, right? Tore this corner, so I'm going to actually move it onto this side so I can trim it. So basically, so it's off the edge is what I'm trying to say. Words are not wording well today, but I still wanted to do this, so we will deal with it. Or at least I will deal with it. Yeah, so there's a little bit of pink coming through, but nowhere near as much as there was before. Okay. This is definitely going to have to go under some books when I'm done, because it's already threatening to curl up. Move you off to the side. I tend to go more neutral in the background. Ferrule. Go more neutral in the background, and I'm considering putting a ferrule on there. I might use this part though. Because I don't want it fighting with what I'm putting on top. Where is my ruler? I'm just gonna tear off this ferrule. Come on, Libby, we really did want to try and keep our desk clean today. Don't ruin it. Okay. I'm just going to gently overlay it. I don't want it crazy overlaid because I don't want it getting really thick in any one area. But just a little bit. Okay. Oh, I have some of this from yesterday. The written paper, it's still thin enough, so we can use that. I either want to find more like this or make some, just like writing on tea-dyed paper. I need something small from there. Maybe even just a piece of this, although I don't know if that's going to stick very well. Oh, this piece will do. These are from my seeds. Did a video on index cards using seed packets. Yeah. This is pretty mindless for me when it comes to my masterboards. This part, not the decorating, but that's why I make a process for it. So again, I'll let that pop off the edge and we'll cut around when we're done. This is a bit big and all one piece. We'll see if I end up putting something there. But I have some little, these got sent to me, punches from paper. I might use that one. Sheet of music. If I wasn't using scraps that I already have, if I had specific papers that I wanted to use, I'd be making sure to add multiple across the whole thing. But this little scrap box, is genuinely just scraps. So finding multiple pieces of the same thing is not so easy. She says, and then she finds a bigger piece. I mean, it's still not big, but bigger. Quinny's back. I can hear him panting. I don't have a door. I have an archway into this room that he sits at. I have a dog gate to keep him out, because otherwise he doesn't know his size. This is my dog. He's a golden retriever, and he'll start stomping on things, and he's a bit of a monkey, but I love him. Some people have more of a rhyme to this. I'm just trying to separate the colours out a bit and overlap where I can without, again, my issues with putting things down to completely cover it up. I try not to do that. We'll see. I'm going to try and vary down a little bit in here, because some of this top paper is actually from a collection that Dave got me that were just smaller that I put in here. Ooh, look at that. It's from a old encyclopedia. I might tear a bit of that off. She said she wanted to go neutral. What's neutral about that? Oh, I'm hitting the section of this that is scrapbook paper. Oh, I love this. Use that. Use that. Okay. This is some of my favourite paper. I've kept every little tiny scrap of that, because it's another one that I couldn't find the paper pack again. It's the downside. I go to Michael's a lot, which is a craft store here in the US, and usually get their seasonals when they're out of season, but they rarely do the same ones again. Oh, that's nice. That's like actual gold. We'll use some of that. Yeah, and you get them much cheaper doing it that way. But the problem is, when I first started doing this, I would only get one of them. Dave and I, my husband is Dave. Dave and I have since wised up a bit, and now he'll make sure if it's one that I seem really interested in, he will get multiple of them when we're buying them. He'll sneak them into the cart usually when I'm not looking. I'll be like, oh wait, there's two of these. Alright. Got a fair bit here to be going on with. I really like this gold. Okay. Some smaller pieces here. This is just plain. I think it's from an envelope. No, it's actually from a book. You can see where it was glued. Which reminds me, I did also grab my tray of book pages. She grabbed it, but does she know where she put it? No. Well, how do I keep managing this? I'll have you know, I did clean my desk before I started, but evidently not well enough. Wherever the tray is, I was going to use it for this too. Okay. We're going to ignore it for now, and if I find it, I find it. If I don't, I don't. I think I am going to use a little bit of this, because I also found, I think this is from an atlas, so we can tie in some blues. Why not? I do like this. I'm going to use it in the corner because it has a nice straight edge. I like this. It's made it grippy. So even if things are still showing through a little bit, it's added some teeth to the paper, which effectively does what the sanding did. So thank you, gouache, for coming in handy. Oh, I really like that. I don't know if you can see, but it's like mottled. It has lots of little bits and pieces to it. Looks almost like some of the handmade paper that I make. It's not mine, so. Trying to find nice pieces for the corners, because then I don't mind if the edges are tatty coming inwards. I do have some spots that I'm going to have to trim down anyway, but if I can avoid that, I will. And again, this is just background. Once we cut it all up, then you build it up. I'm going to show these again, like these. I really want to use some of this. Is it going to show through? No. Okay. I might cut this rather than tear it. But you've been tearing everything else, Libby. I'll tear it. I'm going to do a couple of pieces of it. 2, 3. Is it shiny on both sides? It is. I'm going to overlay that at the bottom. That is gorgeous paper. So when I first got into paper crafting, I put up a message on my local buy, sell, trade giveaway page on Facebook. And a lot of these more random pieces that are not things I would intentionally buy came from a lovely lady. She was moving and she had a bunch of stuff. I think she'd made cards. A bunch of stuff that she was trying to get rid of. And I was expecting like 1 or 2 things when we did this meetup. The lady gives me pretty much her entire stash. Most of it was just plain card and like smaller scraps, but there was some really nice pieces mixed in with it. And I'm still working through it to this day. Sorry, I needed a new glue stick. Are you a new glue stick? Yeah, you're brand new actually. I think that's where this is from, because I don't recognise it's something I bought. If we do it off the pictures, then we don't need a glue page. Not that I'm using glue pages anyway. I just like to have to clean my mat every time. Oh, that is gorgeous. That is coming through. The A is coming through on that. But I think if I isolate that, I'm actually not going to mind that the A is coming through. Yeah, it's down here too. So I'm going to just have to cover where the words are, but that's fine. I think it's worth it for this. I'm going to put another piece over this way, but I'm going to put something down just so it's not showing through. And I'm going to use this guy. Yeah, this isn't real handmade paper, even though it looks like it, because the back is blank. Okay. I'm going to pop that in a little bit, and then cover it with my gold. Oh yes. Let's see, do I have a longer strip? Normally I'm not this particular about it, but I want the gold piece to be like the top layer. And because it's got raggedy edges, that means I need something underneath that. Obviously. I don't know why I'm saying it like that's not clear. Yeah, use this guy. Get some of this blue in so that I can use, I think this is like some lapis or something. It's from a plant, not plant, geology part of the book. Is that enough? Yeah. Oh, I love the gold. I don't know if you can see it as well as I can, but it is just like flecks. It's very pretty. Okay, so because this video is already crazy long, I'm going to go ahead and finish this masterboard pretty much the same way I've just been doing. And then I'll come back and we'll cook them up. We're not going to have time to decorate them today. But I'll put up another video because I don't want this going too crazy long. So I'll be back. I'm back. It's done. I learned something today. I need another box for my scraps to go in so I can separate out the heavier weight from the lighter weight, because that took much longer than expected because I was trying to find paper that worked. So this is how it is. It's mostly neutral. It has these golden bits and then these big pops of blue. And there's not too many focal points. I'd say maybe this knot and then the ferrule. But even if I was to cut that down, which I'm going to, you know, be fine. I'd end up pulling in some mushrooms. Yeah. So that's this one. And it has a few areas that I'm definitely going to have to stamp on or add to once we have the finished cards made up. So this is the stamped one, this is the paper one. I'm going to quickly cut them down, but I'm going to do it blind, so I'm going to turn it over. I'm not going to know what's what. I might need to use my heavy duty trimmer for this one, so I'll show you with this guy. Apologies for the glare. I forgot to pull out my other paper trimmer. Okay, so I need to check it from this side first, just to cut off. I want to say about there. I'll turn these into little labels. Okay, so the journal that this is going into is going to be 8 tall. So we want it smaller than 8 tall. I think I'll keep it at like, oh wait, was it 8 tall? Yes, it'll be 5 by 8-ish. So I'm going to try and keep them, what's this, maybe 4-inch tall. Maybe some can go up to 5. So I'm going to cut them down first this way. So I did that one at 4. I'm going to cut this one down to 3. And whatever that is, which I think is also 3. So these are smaller. I'm going to quickly check. Okay, so they're sideways, so they're not going to make... I did this wrong. I wanted tags. This one's going to have to be my tags. I want them taller than this. These will be journal cards. So then if it's 4 tall, I'll do like 2.5 maybe. This is wonky. That's okay. 2 3/4. 2 3/4 for that one. If I do 3, that could be a card. Yeah, I messed up. I thought these ones were going the other way. Okay, so that's a couple there. How was I doing the back of these? Did I decide that? Was I supposed to... Oh, I'm losing my mind. We'll add something to the back of these once they're done. I am going to make some of these a bit longer. We can still make them into tags, even if they're sideways. I think that's about 5. I think this is about 5 inches. And then 3. I'm not really worrying about the sizes. I just want to make sure that they will fit within the journal. Yep. Okay. And then make one smaller and one larger. Alright. Ignoring the fact that I completely forgot to do anything with the back of this. This is how these ones turned out. I love her. Just a simple one. It does feel, now it's cut down, it does feel like scrapbook paper. I mean, it is scrapbook paper, but I mean like the patterns on it. And a lot of these I'll be covering most of it with focal points and stuff anyway. I actually kind of like that one's half off. So these ones are all pretty similar, but once I start adding my stickers and all of my additional bits, they'll start standing apart. I like that they're just gradual tones of the same colour. Alright, I'm going to do this other one off camera and then I'll be right back. Okay. So I just got 4 out of this one. It was a much smaller piece, but I made them. I wanted some taller ones that I could turn into actual tags. So we have this one. Oh, I like that. The pharaohs all there. We have this one, which doesn't have anything focus-wise, which I prefer. We have this one. Again, no real focus. I think the pharaoh was the only bit that really had a focal point. Yeah. And then this one. This is going to need something stamped up on the top. Okay, so these are the bases. And then we'll do a video. I want to do a video with Mum's journal next. But then the video after that, I don't know which order I'll film it in. I might just film this now. We'll be decorating up these guys. I'll probably, in the meantime, do one of each, just so I get a feel for how I want to decorate them. As I say, I have a formula for how I do these. It's different every time, the formula, but I like to keep it consistent. Anyway, thank you very much for watching, and I'll be back to do the decorating of these next time. Have a good day.